And so we continue exploring my theory that Erika Kirk, Beyoncé Knowles, and Kim Kardashian are all creations of the same beast. Yes, I think that we are looking at one machine creating the same type of starlet women, just in different flavors, just in different packages, of course. The entertainer, the reality hoe, and the deranged Christian widow. All my opinion, of course. All my opinion, of course. Now, I do talk my shit because I am frustrated by a lot of what these women represent, what they perpetuate. However, I do recognize that they are important templates for us to look at, because my theory is that it's their mothers that are really pulling a lot of strings in the background, that are not only curating their image, their brand, their presentation to us, they are in charge, maybe not 100%, but enough to pull on their strings with money making in business. I think they're using their daughters to cash out on. And all three of these mothers have no problem with creating a network of disgusting humans. You know, people with records, people who have suspicious behavior, and there seems to be no qualms about exposing their daughters to them. And then somehow, some way, we get these women shoved in our faces, publicity 10 out of 10, and it's all for a very specific reason. And I think that all three of those women were naive to what was really going on. And now that they potentially know more about what's going on, they're in a position where they don't have control to make a lot of changes if they'd want to. Theoretically speaking, my opinion, of course. So what I've been exploring is these mothers, Lori Franzfey, Tina Knowles, and Kris Jenner. I'm referring to all three of them as the nefarious pageant mom. This is the archetype that I think is creating these women that they are exploiting and that they are leveraging for money, and they're doing it to their own. I don't think they're the only hand, but I have a suspicion they are the primary hand. So, little pip squeaks. So let's continue just exploring these ideas that I have, simply ideas that I have. Now, one of the things with the nefarious pageant mom is there is a weird control factor that happens with these mothers. And you will find this archetype in a lot of the performing arts, not just pageantry, but dance, music, sometime, I don't want to go that direction. It can be more athletic, sports performance based, where you get those really invested helicopter moms, but there's something very specific about beauty being involved, which is why I think the fine arts, the presentation, tumbling even comes to mind, or like cheer, these sort of things, there is a control not only in just being a mother and what you want for your daughter, or what you're doing on behalf of your daughter, or who you want your daughter to be, but also this weird control of how your daughter looks. I'll put a pin in that. So, in the most extreme forms of this, what you'll see is these mothers will do this bizarre thing, and they're basically living vicariously through the daughter. And what I've noted is when these women feel like they've hit a ceiling or a plateau, or they've aged out from their perception of being young, hot, and sexy, what they do is they start to leverage their daughter's sex appeal and they start teaching them how to leverage their sex appeal. Now, I love beauty. I love women. I love spice. I love seduction. Like, I love the allure of the art of femininity, of the art of being a woman. But I don't condone it transactionally. I don't condone it to trick men. I don't condone it to create a psychological warfare. And that's essentially what's been happening culturally, at least in the West, in the US, is all of the beauty and the artistry of being a woman, and sensuality and sexuality, like all the yum of what it means to be a woman, has been like exploited, reduced, made transactional, conditional. It's become a chess piece. Like, it's not even divine anymore. It's not even an emanation of, so I could go on and on and on and on. I could go on. For our conversation, the nefarious pageant mom has once used these tricks as conditional aspects of transactional pieces and is now using their daughters to do it, and they're masking it like they're just they're the invested mother, they're the involved mother, they're the momager, okay? Mothers know best. I really wanted to say something foul and I stopped myself. So, here I am minding my own business on YouTube, and I've referenced her before. The YouTube channel's name is BJ Investigates. Comes up with Tina Knowles and this witchcraft gumbo. And I was like, wait a second. What's going on here? What's going on here? Because we've been discussing all three of these women, Erika, Kim, and Beyoncé. I am suspecting their mothers are well aware that the network that they are doing business with has occult ties. And I mean, I don't need to tell you, right? Beyoncé has already had the witch allegations. The Kardashians, the same things. Kris Jenner, they're like high witches. So, I mean, nothing new, but it was interesting because in this video, BJ Investigates had a clip of when Tina did an interview with the Kelly Clarkson show. Kelly Clarkson. And it was news to me that she was actually in a girl group. I didn't know this. Tina was in a girl group. I said, that's very interesting. That's very interesting, because when I refer to the nefarious pageant mom, once again, this interplay with the control and the investment and the involvement of like the woman in making her this great starlet, you know, this just the star of the show, isn't reserved for just pageantry. It's anything in the fine arts. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. So Tina Knowles did her girl group thing, then her daughter ends up in a girl group. And you know, the thought occurred to me the other day. I was like, you know what's really interesting is that two things. Destiny's Child, one, the word destiny is a very curious term, especially since I've heard so much dialogue around the concept of destiny swapping. I was like, that's kind of curious, where there's all these witch allegations and we have a girl group. It's called Destiny's Child. Beyoncé goes and she just skyrockets to the top. No one can stop her, and for a while no one can even critique the girl. My goodness, no one can have a opinion that's less than flattering. But I'm proud of us because collectively we made it over that hump. And for the record, I love Beyonce's music. I've always enjoyed Beyonce's music. But in terms of, you know, freedom of speech, there's something very curious that they got away with that for that long, that they were infringing on people's speech about her. So we have Destiny's Child, this idea of destiny swapping. Beyonce makes it, the other two don't. The mother, who is exhibiting and what I refer to as animating this archetype that is known to live vicariously through the daughter, now has a daughter that is in a girl group and she's sewing like their clothes. She's like the stylist. Okay. Second thing, the second thought that came to mind is in the name Destiny's Child, why are there 3 young women? When the name Destiny's Child infers 1. Okay, right, kind of interesting, especially when we're talking about witches and destiny swapping and the mother and the daughter and like the one that went skyrocketed to the top, but also very weird, suspicious behavior, and a husband that has a record, and also some alleges a government agent sold out to the CIA. This is interesting, okay? So then it went on, BJ investigates, starts discussing the discrepancies with the Gumbo, okay? With the Gumbo. Now, she happens to be from Louisiana, so she's given straight, like, listen, this is how it's done, this is the way, these are the type of gumbos, this is what looks suspicious from the jump, this is what the true Louisiana folks have to say about it. Now, my best friend is from NOLA. All right, so I have a reliable source, okay, in terms of Louisiana culture, in addition to the video, BJ investigates. But one of the things that was brought up was, apparently a number of people were getting sick from the Gumbo. First of all sorts of things didn't add up. Once again, I am not qualified to make proper commentary on Gumbo, what is proper Gumbo and what is not. So I will include the name of her video in the caption for you guys. But a lot of the reaction videos she was receiving was like, this isn't it. Like, this isn't even good. I just spent a bunch of money for nothing. I'm paraphrasing. And then apparently people were getting sick, and then apparently people were in the hospital, and it's possible people were totally fine and just trying to perhaps get a payday, get some attention. You know how things go. That's very possible. But also in the video, BJ Investigates mentioned that health department came in and shut her stuff down temporarily. Now, once again, people could be just talking outside their neck, right? This isn't it. But it doesn't look great in terms of the lens. If we put on our occult lens, if we put on our sixth sense lens, You don't like it either? Hey, hey, hey. Thank you. If people are getting sick from eating food, and there's associations with witchcraft, oh, goodness. Goodness gracious. So, once again, who are we? All we are just people, little observers, viewers on this side of the screen, this side of the camera. I wasn't there when the gumbo was made. It's a very high chance you weren't there when the gumbo was made. But in one of the videos of people, you know, talking about the gumbo, someone was just like, I would never. And associating Tina Knowles with witchcraft. And she said, all right, guys. And she said, this is how they get you. She said, through food, drink, and clothes. And that was really interesting to me because I am also familiar with different practices that essentially the dark forces or witches, warlocks, what have you, the way that they are able to bind to you is if you eat something, if you drink something, or if you accept something, right? You take something. And obviously, Disney, you know, has given us a few illustrations of just that, of the witches and the drinks and the food. It's a little pipsqueak. The apples, the potions. And I thought her comment on the clothes was also interesting, especially since Tina was the seamstress for Destiny's Child. So I'm going to close on this. A woman I've referenced before, Gigi Young, I've learned a great deal from. She has an excellent YouTube channel on breaking down esoteric ideas, the occult, and she is a Christian mystic. And her work, what she teaches, what she practices, is anthroposophy. She did something really interesting around the Charlie Kirk assassination, where she was explaining the significance of this eclipse sandwich that was happening during that time. And she has definitely re-educated me on a lot of ideas that are assumed in the spiritual space. One of the things is eclipses online, right? And I keep up with like spiritual content and, you know, spiritual creators. Had to let go of a lot, right? You grow, you realize like people, anyway, that's aside. But a lot of what's online is like eclipse, activation, and this, and, you know, and do the reading and set the intentions, blah, 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 blah. And Gigi was saying that historically, eclipses was actually a time to fast, to lay low, to stay indoors. Now, I will, for reasons that are too long to go into this video, through the anthroposophical lens, different celestial bodies, planets, the sun, the moon, all rule a different realm in a different progression and evolution of our soul. Say, oh, hey. And our spiritual evolution. So when the eclipses occur and there is the sun, the moon, earth, or there's the moon, sun, and earth, I always get confused on what's being eclipsed. But the point is the eclipse is covering another celestial body. It's either covering the moon or it's covering the sun. So when that's happened, it's being eclipsed out. And in her video, through this lens, what she was explaining is during these times, the occultists actually use this as windows to conjure. Because essentially, one of the celestial bodies is being blocked, and the moon, the lunar realm, is associated actually with, like, I don't want to say the hell's realms, but of demonic species or lower entities. And once again, there's a whole evolutionary reason for this and progression, and I would like to explain that to you, but I won't be doing that for this video. But I'm setting this context because she was explaining that during this time, when they use these eclipse windows to conjure, because they believe that there is a window open to bring in more entities and beings, which is basically demons from other realms, because there's a planetary alignment that's being blocked they can take advantage of. It's kind of like, oh, the lights went out, or like the curtain is here, let's get all these things out while we can. During these windows, historically, she went over different periods, and people would fast because there was a belief that these entities would once again come into the food or come into the environment or get in the water, something along those lines. So they didn't partake during these windows. And I find that intriguing. I find that intriguing. I also find it odd and suspicious that Tina Knowles is making this big thing about Gumbo, about being like a cook. When once again, like, that's not her archetype. Her archetype isn't this homey, motherly type of thing. Like, she's the pageant mom. She's the mom that doesn't want to, like, age, that stays hip, that stays sharp, that stays on top of it. And there is, of course, like a Southern association, and apparently she's from Louisiana. But once again, that's not ever been her animation as, like, the archetype she embodies. It's always more rich lifestyle, living well, knowing people, quality experiences, right? There's more of this like high-end networking feeling. It's not, yeah, I'm just home, I'm the mom, you can rest your head on me. Like, she doesn't give that. So it's very odd, for my opinion, to have this explosion around the Gumbo. And of course, it's once again, I think, what's the phrase, like a cash grab, where they were talking about how overpriced it was for a little cup and it wasn't even actually gumbo. They're like, call it a beef stew. But I just tie this back with Erika Kirk, where it's odd because it feels so obvious. it just feels so obvious. Like you don't cook how you're saying you cook and prepare gumbo. Literally everyone from Louisiana is debunking you, saying like these are not the reasons. This is not how gumbo is cooked. Like you can't even actually pull that off within these parameters. She was saying she was like cooking it for like 16, 18 hours. So it's once again these like very clear, obvious lies. And I say lies, maybe she really did cook it for 16 and 18 hours, which is why it wasn't good. But it's this very clear miscalculation. It's misplaced. It feels out of place. You know what I mean? It's odd. Just like Erika. Like these things that are like exaggerated and assumed. Like, yeah, you're a mom, so you should just make the best home cooked gumbo at this rodeo. It's like, what have you shown the public in terms of like you being in the kitchen? And then like Erika, like, yeah, because I'm the wife, I now run multi-million-dollar businesses and I am a political candidate. It's like, what have you done to put you in these positions, to sell us these things, right? It's odd. I don't have a conclusion yet, but I just want to name it's odd how obvious it's getting that these things are entirely misplaced. They're low quality. It's a cash grab. And like they don't care. They're not taking accountability for it. I don't know exactly what this phase is in the progression. I'm not exactly sure what comes next after, but I know something does. I feel like we're at a transitional point where, like I've said in the previous videos about Erika, they're not even trying to be clever anymore. They're not even trying to be convincing anymore. It feels like they're throwing spaghetti at a wall and they're like, do you see how accurate it is? Do you see how pristine, how pointedly exquisite we are doing? And we're like, what? You just threw spaghetti on a wall. It's weird. It's weird. There'll be more.